I've recently been playing around with the VR chat app, which is available on Steam and Oculus devices, and came across some incredible Final Fantasy VII Remake virtual environments based across multiple iconic Midgar locations. Like many, I spent the better part of 2 months in spring 2020 playing the incredible Final Fantasy VII Remake. And yes, I know, we all wanted the full game, but what are you going to do? So if you're a huge fan of Final Fantasy VII, like me, and think the idea of walking around virtual Midgar is more exciting than a trip to the Golden Saucer itself, well, you're going to want to stick around for my virtual tour of Midgar. So all you need to experience this yourself is a VR device with access to the VR chat app. I'm told you can only access the Final Fantasy VII virtual rooms via the Steam version of VR chat, but I haven't actually verified this yet myself. So once you're in the app, simply search for Final Fantasy VII in the Rooms option. The amazing thing about this is that clearly the creators have used environmental assets and level design from the game itself, and whilst the graphical fidelity isn't anywhere near as good as the PS4 standard, it's still incredibly immersive, especially with the Nobuo Uematsu's iconic soundtrack accompanying the experience. So starting off in Sector 7 then, here I am in Tifa's bar, 7th Heaven, just having a little look around. Obviously we've got the pinball machine and the jukebox. And the dartboard as well. Now none of this is interactive sadly, but it's still pretty cool to see it, you know, in first person. So you have options in each environment to toggle the music and ambient sound on and off, and also to mess around with post-processing and other graphical settings. I didn't really find any value to any of these. I just left them as they were. I'd recommend just leaving them as is. I'm going to be quiet for a moment just so you can experience what it's like to walk around Sector 7. So the next environment I explored was under the Sector 7 plate, walking towards the junkyard and then up into Aerith's church, or Ares' church, depending on whether you grew up with Aerith or Ares. In the UK it was Aerith, so I'm going to call it Aerith's church. Again, it's kind of surreal doing this in VR because, you know, even only a year ago playing this game on the PlayStation 4, I can't imagine being able to do this in VR. Going back 20 years or even longer, back to the original, the idea of being able to walk around these iconic locations from my favourite game of all time and many people's favourite game of all time is absolutely bonkers and incredible. Whilst it isn't the VR version of the game itself, you know, there's no combat, there's no characters or NPCs to interact with, as a tech demo it is incredible. And I really hope that in the future we see some mods for the PC version, maybe of Final Fantasy VII Remake, where you can actually play the full game. So let's take a little walk towards the church. Probably the most iconic location from the first game. I should say disc 1 of the first game. Like with most VR games, social screen outputs like this, it just doesn't do it justice. You really have to be experiencing it yourself, but it is just so wonderfully surreal walking into this church and looking up at the holes in the roof where Cloud fell through, just up there. Hey Cloud. I was half expecting to see Cloud's body lying there, but perhaps that's too morbid for this. And sadly no Aerith either. So let's take a look in the back rooms and go upstairs. Just now walking into the rafters in the roof. I remember this bit in the original game on PlayStation, constantly falling down to the bottom floor whilst trying to save Aerith. So let's head outside and just take in the view of the Sector 7 slums. Beautiful. You really get the scale of the Midgard plate above you as well. When you look up at it, it's just gargantuan. Okay, moving on. Let's go to somewhere else. Okay, so we're still in Sector 7, I think, and at this point I came across some other players actually playing in the area. Couldn't get this person to talk to me, so swiftly moving on. It was at this point as well that I realised my avatar was a giant wine bottle, which explains why some people were giving me kind of funny looks. So these are some of the settings where you can turn the mirror on so you can look at yourself in VR. There I am, as a bottle. Other characters seem to be kind of anime, kawaii type things.
Can these people hear me? Hey, hey.
Yeah, this guy starts talking to me. Becomes a bit of a pest actually, he follows me around for the rest of this area, after which I make a very swift exit. But anyway, the most exciting part of this environment is, of course, it leads to Aerith's house. So let's take a little walk to one of the most beautiful locations in these VR rooms.
Where's Chloe? Where's Chloe? Hey, can you hear me? Hello? Oh.
So let's go inside the house. I mean, I remember the pre-rendered backgrounds from PS1 days of this environment.
Hey, do you know where the other girl is?
This guy's a proper creep. He's asking me where the other girl is. I don't know what he's talking about, so I kind of just ignored him.
I'm not. Shut up.
Okay, let's go upstairs. So these are the rooms where, if I recall the game correctly, Tifa and Cloud are staying with Aerith whilst Aerith's mum's downstairs. And you have to sneak out without Aerith knowing. Let's go and take in the view one more time. Beautiful. Okay, let's move to another area. So, a slight change of tone here. We are now in the Shinra headquarters. About to walk into the main atrium. I felt compelled to touch the Shinra sign for some reason. At this point my avatar has changed into a kind of dogue, meme, dog type thing. This was impressive. The scale in this environment was insane. Pretty intimidating. So, as I said before, to me it looks as if these are the actual assets taken from the remake. The level design, the graphics, the assets, everything, it looks identical. The resolution is much lower, as it always is in VR, but everything else seems to be in place. The kind of car museum thing, the iconic motorbikes from the Shinra company. So let's head upstairs. And there it is, the iconic motorbike. I think that's the one that we escape on in the game. Cloud rides towards the end of Disc 1, or towards the end of the remake as well. And what was a nice surprise for this room is that if you go into one of the elevators, it actually transitions you to the next virtual room, which is the Shinra Skyview Hall. Just clipping through the door there. Yeah, as I say, it's not 100%. Nice little bit of jazz. Let's go and walk towards the window and look over the beauty of Midgar. You can see the reactors and the urban metropolis below. It's incredible. I think this is an environment I could just stay in VR forever. So, moving on to our final area. This is Don Corneo's mansion. At first glance I thought this was just this room, but as you'll see, it's pretty much the entire mansion mapped in VR, even the creepy fetish basements that for some reason were included in the original game and in the remake. At this point I've clipped out the environment, but if that happens it takes you back to where you were before. So let's go through and see some of the other areas. So there's the storeroom, all sorts of bric-a-brac and stuff scattered around. Now we're coming into Corneo's main office now. I think it's pretty widely known now, but perhaps some people don't know that in the Final Fantasy VII Remake, Don Corneo was voiced by none other than Luke Skywalker himself, Mark Hamill. And here's Corneo's creepy bedroom. I'm amongst the legions of fans who think the creepy side story of Cloud, Strife dressed as a woman trying to infiltrate what is essentially a Final Fantasy version of Harvey Weinstein's mansion is so bizarre and wonderful. I'm really glad they kept that in the remake. And here we have the creepy dungeons. And if memory serves, and it certainly should, it wasn't that long ago, this is where Tifa's kept captive. Yeah. In this room, all sorts of weird bondage, tables. Very confusing for my 13-year-old self to play this in the PS1 days. And that's, I think that's pretty much it for Corneo's mansion. Just double check. Yeah, that's it. So that's it, folks. Those are the main environments. I think there were a few more available in the VR chat rooms, but I haven't had time to look at those yet. They don't look as polished either. I don't think they use the actual remake assets, so I've focused mainly on those ones for you. But definitely check it out, guys. It's, if you're a Final Fantasy fan, a Final Fantasy 7 fan even, this is absolutely essential, and it's free. Once you've got the app, which is free, all you need is your VR headset and VR chat on Steam. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, click like, subscribe, do all that jazz, and I'll see you next time.